activity number 4, dialysis. The first step, of course, is to prepare all the reagents and materials needed. Now, for the setup of dialysis, we go to step 1, obtaining the clean cellophane, cutting it according to size, and placing it atop the dry evaporating dish, or if you're at your homes, the small bowl. The second step involves adding 10 ml of starch solution and 10 ml of sodium chloride solution into the cellophane. We start first with the starch solution. We are using a 5 ml pipette, so we're going to have to dispense twice. So aspirate. The fluid must go beyond the 0 mark, and then we have to slowly set it to 0 so that we are sure that what we are dispensing is 5 ml. There we go. Now that is 10 ml of starch solution. After pouring, we set it aside and get the 10% sodium chloride solution. Again, repeat the process. We have to aspirate 10 ml. We have to aspirate twice because we only have a 5 ml pipette. So make sure to remember that if you are using these kinds of pipette, you always have to make it straight as you are aspirating and dispensing. So kailangan po laging straight yung ating pipette. Okay, so after dispensing the 2 reagents that are needed, we will now go to the next part. And so the next part, or step 3 in your module or manual, states that you have to gather the ends of the cellophane and tie with a string or rubber band. So here it is shown now. We get the ends of the cellophane, and after that we have to get a tie or a rubber band. So here we both actually have a tie, and the black tie, and the rubber band. We have to make sure also that there is no leak, and before we use the rubber band. And so we have to make sure to tie it tightly using the rubber band. We have to make sure also that there are no holes or no avenue for escape for the liquid which is inside of your cellophane. Now we fill the beaker with water. So this is where we are going to suspend the cellophane. So after filling it with enough water, we are going to get the cellophane and untie it on a pencil or a pen. In this case, what we have is the pencil. Tie it securely. Use a rubber band or a tie. And so here we're going to make use of the rubber band. So this is already step number 4. Tie the cellophane on a pencil and pen. Suspend this on a beaker containing distilled water. the cellophane should be completely submerged but not touching any part of the beaker or the drinking glass. Adjust accordingly. As you can see, it is not totally submerged, and so we need to add more water. What we're showing you now is that it is not touching any of the sides. Yeah, so here is the adjustment part, adjusting the water so that the cellophane is submerged. Okay, so as you can see also, it is not touching any side of your beaker, so that is very important. Okay, so once that you are complete with this part, the next is to let it stand for 1 hour. So we will have to let it stand for 1 hour. So what we did was that we moved it to a different table and let it set there for 1 hour. So while waiting for the hour to finish, so in between we took shots or videos, so you can see that from the initial shot na clear pa yung water, right, distilled water, slowly there is a difference. So while waiting for it to finish the 1 hour, we can already start preparing the materials for the next part of the activity. The qualitative test for the solution inside the cellophane and the qualitative test on the dialysate. So after 1 hour, we can now get the setup. So we follow the next procedure. We get the cellophane, punch a hole or create a hole on the side of the cellophane so that we can transfer its contents to a clean and dry beaker. So this will now be labeled as your beaker A. And so you can see on the side of the beaker, there is a label there and letter A. Okay, so we have to make sure that we pour everything, so all of the contents inside the beaker. The next part is, of course, we have to put that aside, the cellophane. And just next, we save, that is your letter A. And so next, we have beaker B. Beaker B is the water that was saved. And so kung nasaan nag-rest si cellophane natin kanina, kung saan siya na-submerge. So you now have here beaker A and beaker B, which will be used for the next part of the activity. So as previously mentioned, we already prepared the test tubes that we are going to use. So for the qualitative test for the solution inside the cellophane, we're going to make use of the contents of beaker A and pouring 1 ml of the liquid into test tube labeled as 1 and 2. So 1 ml each. After which, let us set aside beaker A and let us also transfer 1 ml each of the contents of beaker B into test tube 3 and 4. So test tube 3 and 4 will be used on the qualitative test on the dialysis. So we set aside the beaker and we now proceed with the test. So what I'm going to do here now is, since the reagent used for the first tube and the third tube is the same, I'll be grouping them together, and the second tube and the fourth tube, the reagents to be used are the same. For test tube 1 and 3, we're going to make use of concentrated nitric acid and silver nitrate. So it is suggested that we not use the Pasteur pipette directly to obtain the needed drops of concentrated nitric acid. Instead, what we're going to do is get a small amount of your concentrated nitric acid and place it on a test tube. Okay, so from there, from this test tube, we are now going to use that for the addition of 10 drops each on test tubes 1 and 3. So as the drops are being added, we have to take note also of the color changes. Now for silver nitrate, since we're going to use 1 ml, we won't be needing to transfer it to a separate test tube. Just get 1 ml and add it to the test tube. So 1 ml each. Next is the addition of betadine to tubes number 2 and 4. So again, just like your concentrated nitric acid, we cannot use the pasture pipette directly. So what we can do is transfer a small amount on the tube, and from there we can use the pasture pipette to add a few drops of betadine on test tubes 2 and 4. This under 1, 2 drops, 1 and 2. So for the next few seconds, what will be shown now to you are the reactions, or what happened on the test tubes. Okay, so we have now placed the tubes that are supposed to be together. So test tube 1 and 2 and test tube 3 and 4 have been separated. So you have here test tube 1, and then you have here test tube 2. So what can you observe?
After a few minutes after mixing my solution, this one appeared like this one.
Now here is an evaporated dish. So if we were to place the contents of test tube 2 on an evaporating dish, this is what it would look like.
Okay.
Also, this is the appearance of test tube 3 on an evaporating dish. Okay. So just write your observations.